Hi, I'm Tracy Worcester from Farms Not Factories and Market Garden Forbidden Fruit and Veg, and I'm here today at the Together March Against Fascism and no more bombs on Iran.
Capitalism is destroying farming, both in Ireland and here and across Europe. And really, you know, some of the messages today in relation to the green arguments for smaller and better and not disinvestment but support both farming communities and local communities. Well, that's the way to go. So here's to revolution, here's to a green change, here's to environmentalism, and here's to the farmers. Solidarity, brothers and sisters, solidarity.
I'm here because I guess I'm extremely concerned with the political direction of this country, but not just the UK, around the world, as we move to a divided world. And clearly, like the interests of ordinary working people are going to suffer as a result, because it's the corporate interests that benefit. So look at the people who are behind all this division: Elon Musk, Trump, billionaires who have never been friends of ordinary working people, and who are going to increase the wealth divide on an astronomical scale. And that is why they try to divide people of all different races and religions. So yeah, extremely concerned about that, I'd say.
Migrants aren't the problem. You know, disabled people, LGBT people, trans people, they're not emptying your pockets. It's the billionaires and the people in power that are emptying our pockets.
Actually, the real reason I'm here is I think the only way we can move forward in such a horrible world is to join together across a broad spectrum of groups with different interests, but we have a common desire to see justice and uphold decent values that enable this to be an inclusive country, and actually to support people who are most marginalised, particularly migrants, but also obviously my biggest concern as a member of their mod is Israel-Palestine. But actually the issues here unite so many people from so many different backgrounds, and that's why I think it's really important that we come together.
We're on the precipice of fascism, really. There's lots of corporations, lots of countries doing lots of bombings, lots of colonialism and genocide happening in a number of different countries, and I'm here to show support to those people that are subjugated all around the world.
It's really important that racism against Palestinians is included in the anti-racist agenda, the anti-racist struggle, because it's often left out. The Israeli lobby in this country is very strong and has the ear of all the mainstream media, and the Israeli lobby is very hostile to the Palestinians. So I'm here with another hat on, which is as National Secretary of Jewish Voice for Liberation. We are very much in support of the Palestinians, wholly opposed to what Israel is doing with its conducting a genocide in Gaza, and we use that word advisedly. And we're opposed to the dominant ideology in Israel at the moment, a particular form of Zionism, which you might call revisionist or political Zionism, which justifies the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. And we stand up as Jews who take as our maxim, always with the oppressed, never with the oppressor.
Obviously horrified by what the Israelis, backed up by the Americans and by the British government, have done to Gaza. They've utterly destroyed it in an unimaginable way. It's sickening again that these two far-right countries are bombing Iran on basically a pack of lies, saying that Iran are developing nuclear weapons. There's no evidence that Iran are developing nuclear weapons. They don't have nuclear weapons. It's up to the people of Iran to change their government. You know, you cannot bomb people into democracy.
I'm fascinated by the way people have travelled from every corner of this country to be here in solidarity. I believe there are over 200 groups represented here, and it's just a privilege to be part of this group here, showing solidarity to work for peace and justice, reconciliation, where there is discrimination, all of that to be highlighted, and it's a pleasure to be part of it.
So I've come up from Dorset on the south coast because I think I needed to for my own mental health, to be honest. It feels like we're just watching the world go up in flames, and there's so many things that I feel angry or upset or hurt or worried about for myself, for my children, for my neighbours, for my community. And it felt like an opportunity to physically do something and be a part of something positive. Feel like I didn't just sit by and let it all happen. I stood up, I had my voice, and I shouted and made it count. And particularly my concerns are how less than 1% of the world, the billionaires at the top, are just destroying it for everyone else. We're suffering, we're poorer, and somehow they're making my peers, groups like Reform are making my peers think that they're the answer, and the rise of the right and the manosphere and toxic masculinity and all these things where we're just turning and hating each other. And it's just to deflect from where we should be looking and worrying.
When you see Trump's ludicrous war against Iran, which is a disaster even in his own terms, it isn't achieving anything. And I think people are just, beginning to feel that we need to stand up and actually do something about that, or at least I hope they are.
I think that the world we're in is struggling. Yeah, I've worked in the environmental sector, so I've had 2 decades of absorbing lots of worries about what's coming down the line and how humanity is ignoring it. And then to start feeling that within that our communities are fracturing in some ways, and people starting to look at each other and point at each other more, and also that our leaders are becoming people who are more selfish. That it feels like quite a scary moment in that way.
Today they talk about authoritarianism and right-wing populism, but I mean there are certain characteristics where you blame certain groups for the fault of the system rather than to analyze and criticize and change the system. You blame certain people, like today it's migrants, in the past it was Jews, or it is LGBT communities, transgender people, etc. There are millionaires and billionaires, Elon Musk and others, Peter Thiel in the United States, who support it, because that is the only way they can stay in their privileged position. And I mean, Trump is the best example for somebody who is sort of moving more and more towards fascism. But I mean, obviously you have institutions in society which try to prevent it, and the question is whether these institutions are strong enough, because I mean, Trump clearly ignores all sort of rules and institutions, like with this war he just started together with Israel. So we are not in fascism yet, but we are on a path towards it, and when we have reached it, then we will not have these discussions anymore.
The world has been controlled by far-right, or by billionaires, specifically far-right billionaires, ever since 1989, when socialism collapsed in Eastern Europe, and these people thought they could do absolutely what they wanted without any counterbalance. And for me, that was an enormous tragedy. It needs to be reformed, not destroyed, and it's led us to the point we are now. And basically, the way that we will move forward again is by re-establishing control over the means of production, as people did in Eastern Europe before 1989.
I'm not from London, but I live in London, and it's such a multicultural city. I love this place, and it's very important that we don't let the racists try and set the agenda and try and tell us that we live in a different type of city than one we do. So we stand together, we're stronger together, and that's why I'm here.
All the big corporate companies are just absolutely dissolving our sense of community. We're just being so lost in these big corporate companies, just eating up jobs, just turning us into numbers rather than this individuality that is so special, that makes us all very human.